Hello, hello. Let me do it again. My phone. Okay. Hello. Welcome to the State of Black Louisville interviews. Uh, I myself, my name is Richard Whitlock Jr., and today I'm going to interview Robert E. Gunn Jr. I got to make mistakes and then I'm clear after.
The people of Louisville deserve a mayor that will listen, that will offer opportunity, that will make sure the most marginalized get the resources they need. I'm here to tell you that I am the right choice because I've been working for you the whole time. I plan to be exactly who I campaigned to be. And every role I've taken in this city has been to serve and take care of people. On May 19th, this is too important for you to stay home. We need you to go vote for your future. Louisville, it is our chance to change the direction and to make it better. Louisville is better when we come together as community. Louisville, it's time.
This is brought to you by the people to elect Shamika Parrish Wright.
How you doing today?
Hey, Brother Whitlock, it's a great day to be alive. And if we have any Spanish speaking brothers and sisters in the audience, es un gran día, parte estar vivo. Glad to be with you tonight, brother.
Okay. Now, first thing I want to ask is, why was it so important on the State of Black Louisville marquee that it was Robert E. Gunn Jr.? Could you please elaborate for us for that?
Yes, sir, absolutely. So I always introduce myself with my full government name, Robert Earl Gunn Jr. And I do that, Brother Whitlock, because there were three. So first of all, my pops, my dad, his nickname was Soul. I was born and raised in South Bend, Indiana, but he was Robert Earl Gunn Sr. I'm Robert Earl Gunn Jr. And my son, we call him Trip. He's Robert Earl Gunn III. All of
Okay.
us have nicknames, so it goes from Soul, me, my nickname is Chubb, my son, his nickname is Trip. And again, it's really important, Brother Whitlock, that I let folks know my full name because it's really to honor my father and the legacy that he left. So I know we'll talk about a lot tonight, but I want to start out by just thanking him. He transitioned July of 2021, right? And one of the things that I'll never forget is, I was able to speak at my father's funeral on his behalf. And one of the things that folks asked me afterwards, they were like, "Man, how did you hold it together? How did you talk so powerfully and eloquently, and how did you hold it together for your dad?" And I was like, because he got me ready for this moment. Like, I think a father's job is to prepare his son or his children for life, um, for when he's no longer on the face of this earth. And my daddy did that. So I think we'll talk more about that. But just, he was my hero. He was my idol, man. In my role right now, I'm able to shake hands with movers, shakers, CEOs, presidents, and all the things, man. And when I'm looking at these folks, the one thing that always comes to my mind is my daddy would have been in that seat had he had the opportunity, but he didn't. So quick story about that. I was 16 years old, Brother Whitlock, and I found out that my dad didn't graduate from high school. I didn't know that. Like, so born and raised in South Bend, Indiana, 2813 Westmore Street, house I grew up. My daddy's job was straight down the street. He worked in a factory. It was called Bendix, then it became Allied Signal, then it became Honeywell, but he worked on carbon brakes, like some really hard, difficult work. Wore coveralls to work every day. But he made a really good home for myself, my siblings, my mother. And I asked him, I was like, "Daddy, why didn't you graduate from high school?"
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Well, Chubb, did you ask your mama the same question?" And I kind of chuckled. I was like, "Well, dang, I didn't know mama didn't graduate from high school." He was like, "No, neither of us did, but you asked me the question." And he said, essentially, I didn't graduate from high school. I left school because, number one, I didn't have anybody at my school that looked like me, teacher wise.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I didn't feel like what the teachers were teaching me was really relevant, or could do anything for my life. He was like, the third thing was, I really didn't feel like anybody cared about me in my school. And then the fourth thing he told me, Brother Whitlock, he said, I can make a better living hustling out on the streets than I could going to school. I'll never forget. I looked him square in his eyes. I said, "Daddy, I should have been your teacher." I knew from that moment that I wanted to go into education. I knew from
Mm-hmm.
that moment that I wanted to do any and everything in my power to make sure that folks who look like my daddy,
Mm-hmm.
who look like me, and those who don't, didn't have the same lack of opportunities that he had. So, long answer to a short question, but that's why I like to tell everybody my full name. It's to honor my father, it's to honor the present me, and it's to honor the future.
Okay. I feel the same way about my own name. I'm a junior as well.
Yes, sir.
I'm like the fifth Richard. My grandfather, he had a brother that had a son named Richard, and my grandfather looked up to that man, and so he named his son after him. So I just love to hear those kind of stories because people don't understand what it's like being a junior unless you are one.
That's
I've been
right.
the third. It's just a great sense of pride to come with that. I totally understood when you say, "Hey man, I want you to get my name right."
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
You mentioned that you're from South Bend. Could you elaborate a little bit more? Like, you from South Bend? Is your family from South Bend? Is your family still there? Like, what kind of roots you got in South Bend, Indiana?
Yeah, so South Bend, Indiana, 46628 is the zip code. So yeah, I was born and raised there. Both my parents were in South Bend for the longest time. I think they both grew up in South Bend. My dad went. I think that he did some traveling. Family was from my father's side of the family was from Mississippi. My mother's side of the family was from Georgia.
Okay.
But my great grandparents eventually migrated up to the South Bend area. So yeah, that's where I was born and raised. Was in South Bend from the time I was born to the time I went off to college in 1998 after graduating from high school. Went to Earlham College in Richmond, Indiana. But I still have a brother who's in South Bend. My mother is still in South Bend. Plenty of cousins, aunts, uncles still in South Bend. Two other siblings. One is in Indianapolis, and then my sister lives in Atlanta.
Okay, now to I spent a winter in South Bend in 1990, and for the longest, it was the coldest winter ever in my life. So that's why I wanted you to expand a little bit more on being from South Bend. So with you being from South Bend, how did you end up? How did you end up in Louisville, Kentucky? Did you go to school or something? Like, how
Yeah,
did you end up in Louisville?
and I was following a woman. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
and
okay,
that woman, Lacey Gunn, she's a doctor at University of Louisville.
okay.
But she and I met in college.
Mhm,
But after college, I went to St. Louis. I got into Teach for America. I fulfilled that promise that I made to my father
mhm.
to be a teacher. So St. Louis for 3 years. And I can tell you some stories about St. Louis, brother. Like the very first day, I'm walking up to the school building, Blewett Middle School,
Mhm.
1927 Cass Avenue, downtown St. Louis.
Mhm.
So we're like, I'm walking up to the school, I'm suited and booted. My granny gave me like $500 to use, get my J.C. Penney card, get my outfits right.
Mhm.
Walk up to the building. I got a briefcase in my hand. My principal at the time, her name is Annie J. Chambers.
Mhm.
Students sit out in front of the school. I'm walking up to the school, and I'll never forget. A young lady looked at me, right? She was like, "Who is this in?" She said the word, walking up here, and she said, "He's big, so he looked like he should be the PE teacher, but I don't know why this Ian got a suit on." Right? I don't even know what to say to that. So I'm just like, "Good morning." So I walk around her, walk in the building, walk through the metal detector, and I'll speed this story up. So I'm in my classroom. Very first day, I got 36 desks, 41 students show up. So I'm already a little frazzled, but I'm like, "Hey, don't worry about it. Hey, my name is Mr. Gunn. We're about to change the world. I made a promise to my daddy. This is gonna be a great year." So kids are coming in, coming in, coming in. I close my door. My classroom is the last room on the second floor at Blewett. I look down the hallway and I see this figure that's like walking slow as all get out. Class has been in for like 5 or so minutes. I met all my students at the door. So I close the door and hey, I'm on fire, baby. Like I'm teaching everything else. About 5 minutes later, I hear a knock at the door. Go to the door. I open it up. It's the same young lady who was sitting out on the front porch when I came to the school building today. Yeah. And I was like, "How you doing, ma'am? My name is Mr. Gunn. It's nice to meet you." She looked and she was like, "Huh, you can call me OG Linda Lee." And I was like, "All right." She was like, "You probably don't know what OG mean, do you?" Bent down. Said, "Little girl, you don't get yourself in this classroom. You know what OG is, and you done met one, so come on in here." And I tell that story about her because that very first day, like these kids, it was their mission to run me up out of there.
Yeah.
Like, you ain't from St. Louis, you
Yeah.
don't know nothing about St. Louis. But I learned that if I could teach at Blue Middle School, I could teach anywhere in the country. Those kids were real, they were raw, and they taught me a lot of life lessons. But I mentioned OG Linda Lee because about 4 months into the school year, she and I became, pretty close, built a relationship. And it was one day before school. I walked to my classroom. Sitting down outside of my classroom is OG Linda Lee. She's sitting there. Her head is kind of in her lap, back up against the locker. So I just sit down next to her and I was like, "What's going on, OG?" She looks up, eyes bloodshot red. She's just bawling, right? And I never seen that side of her. I was like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Well, today is my birthday." But my mom didn't come home last night. I was like, "Ooh, is everything okay?" She's like, "Mr. Gunn, that ain't nothing that's out of the ordinary for me." She was like, "But my mama promised that she was gonna do my hair." At this point, I don't have any children. Right now, I have an 18-year-old daughter. Brother Whitlock, I jumped up, went across the hall to one of my female colleagues. I was like, "Hey, I need a rubber band." She's like, "Girl, what you doing?" I was like, "OG is out there, and I'm gonna do her hair."
Yeah.
She's like, "Did you ask her that?" I was like, "Well, no, I didn't." So I run back out. "Hey, OG, can I do your hair?" She looked up, smiled. So I gave her like the most untidy, loosest ponytail with a red rubber band that you've ever seen. But she walked around that entire day, and when anybody asked, she said, "Mr. Gunn did my hair this morning."
Mm-hmm.
Like that, and the power of relationship, and the relationship that I built with like that young lady and all the students. It's just like once you get to know somebody and you build a relationship, all those barriers and all those walls that are originally erected, they just come tumbling down. My wall and my barrier for her was I wasn't from there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But 3 years after being there, I cried when I left, and my students cried when it was time for me to go.
Mm-hmm.
But my wife got into Louisville, medical school here in Louisville. That's what took me from St. Louis to Louisville in 2005, and I've been here.
Okay, okay. Now, the reason I wanted to interview you so you could share these experiences that you've had, right? Um, because what I realize about people that are dynamic, we've all had pretty much of the same experience. We just handled it different, right? And hopefully with you sharing these stories, a young educator say, hey man, I went off in the classroom and these kids ran me out. You know, if somebody said, hey, I really don't want to deal with these bad little kids, right? And they may find some encouragement from you as well. And that's the reason why I really wanted to interview you for the state of Black Louisville, especially the first person I interviewed because I heard about your leadership uh, from a from a friend of mine, and that's what I like to ask now. How did you become the man for the job when it came to the boys' school?
Yeah, I was born for it. September 1996. Like I told you, I found out my dad didn't graduate from high school. The beautiful thing about me and B boys, and the funny thing about my interview, I'll never forget. I walked into the room for that interview, and I respectfully told the individuals that were there, like Dr. John Marshall, Dr. Marco Munoz, other folks that were with JCPS,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Polio at the time. I said, like, pardon my hubris. I do not mean to come in and be braggadocio, any of that. But I need you all to hear what I have to say why I'm the man of this job. I'll answer any questions that you want to after that, but let me tell you why I'm him. So that's how my interview started. And from there, I just walked him through my journey. I walked him through my path. I showed him my sixth grade report card, Brother Whitlock, where I had C's and D's. I had a teacher who wrote, like there was a comment on the report card that says he listens, he's cooperative, and follows instructions. That's what was on the report card. She wrote next to it the words "not at all caps underlined, exclamation point." Right. So I think I was the man for the job at Du Bois because I understood what the mission was, and the mission was to make sure that those young men felt that they were powerful, they felt like they were purposeful, they felt like they were not going to be stopped. There were not going to be barriers in their way that they couldn't overcome because naturally there were going to be barriers. So everything about Du Bois, right, from the uniforms to the creed,
Mm-hmm.
that we said every single day. Like those were things that, I was empowered to just say, hey, what is happening for young black and brown males in this city, it's not working. Let's develop a program that's meant for them to be successful. First question that I asked the young men and I asked their parents at Du Bois is, what do you want to be like at the end of your experience? Brother Whitlock, not one person, not one parent, not one student told me, oh, I want to be distinguished on the K prep. So guess what? That wasn't the focus of the school. What did young men say? Man, I want to be a good man. I want to be a good dad. I want to learn how to be a leader. I want to learn how to listen better. I want to just be the best version of myself. I want to learn where I come from. So once I heard that, I'm like, okay, well, test scores aren't my focus. Building you all up is going to be the focus. And guess what? Test scores will be a byproduct of you getting everything that my daddy didn't get. So we built a curriculum that was reflective of him. We asked questions every single day, reflective of him. I was that constant reminder. I told the parents during our very first meeting, if you don't want your son to be held to high expectations, if you don't want him to be great, if you don't want him to be successful, there are 4 doors in this auditorium. I suggest you take him with you now.
Okay.
Nobody got up and left.
And Du Bois was partially inspired by Carter G. Woodson in Lexington, right? Could you please share with people a little bit more? And also, we see what Du Bois has turned into. Could you share with us what Carter G. Woodson has turned into in Lexington as well?
Absolutely. Carter G. Woodson was the blueprint. So one of the things that I've learned a long time ago, um, imitation is the best form of flattery.
Mm-hmm.
So I was gifted a year before Du Bois started. So I was named principal. And then again, Dr. Marshall, Diane Porter, like their vision was awesome. They said, we're going to give you a year, travel the country. So see what schools are doing, see what they're doing to be successful, and then things that you want to take and bring back, take it. Things that you don't, leave it. Right. So Carter G. Woodson, Dr. Roz Aiken, one of the first people that I spoke to, man, she was so welcoming. She's like, yeah, come on down. we're an open book. Let's see what we do. So I walked in there. I saw how those young brothers were walking. I saw the bow ties that they were wearing, which signified a 3.5 GPA. I saw how they greeted one another. So I'm like, yeah, we're taking all of that. I visited schools in Chicago, Illinois. One of the things that we started every single day with at the Boys Academy was showing love. So I would play the song "Lean on Me." 3 minutes, we walked around, we dapping up. You got three choices: you can hug, you can high five, you can handshake. But if you come up to me, two things gonna happen. I'm hugging you and I'm telling you that I love you. Okay. Every single day. That was something that I took from Chicago. But Carter G. Woodson, they were the blueprint for everything that you saw us do. And also, Brother Whitlock, I will say that it was so important that the boys, we were successful there because we knew that if we were successful as the boys, that we had a shot of getting the girls' school open as well. And now we have the Grace James School of Excellence for the young ladies.
Okay, okay. So my next question is, so you known for the Du Bois School, but tell the people what you're currently doing.
Yeah, so currently my role is the Chief Equity and Impact Officer at Metro United Way. So titles can sound fancy, they can sound complicated, but essentially what that means is at Metro United Way, we're an organization that wants to empower individuals, families, community organizations, right? So the impact side of my work, we have three pillars: thriving kids, strong households, equitable community. Myself, the wonderful team that I'm blessed to work with, we're the ones who are helping with programming, helping with convening, helping with figuring out how do we move the needle on issues that we continue to see. No longer want to just sit back. At one point in time, Metro United Way was an organization that was called a community chest, right? And a community chest was more of a transactional type of thing. And the way that I like to give people a little flavor who have no idea what I'm talking about, I use an analogy, and that analogy is a kid and a coach. So this year, our United Way turns 109 years old. For about 101 of those years, Brother Whitlock, we were a community chest, simply meaning dollars were flowing into our organization. Those dollars went back out to organizations, and we took a step back and said, hey, go ahead and solve for all the things. And the analogy that I use, hey, go help put coats on kids. Is there anything wrong with putting coats on cold kids? Absolutely not. That's good work. We still do that work today. But about 8 years ago, we asked ourselves a question: man, why do we live in a community with so many kids who need coats in the first place? And what can we do about it? So then, instead of us just being that pass-through organization, transactional, here's money, go fix the problem, we're still doing that. But now we're working in many different ways, everything from policy and advocacy to creating our own programs, running our own programming, to helping with capacity building. So we've continually evolved. And like what I get my team to say, and what we say at Metro United Way, I'll walk in the room and I might yell, who's doing this? And you'll hear the staff respond, we are the work, right? So at one point in time, everybody else was the work. Yeah. We were the bank.
Yeah.
Now we can help with funding, but we also help, with helping to try to get in front of root cause issues, which you and I know are systemic. They weren't born overnight. They're not going to be solved overnight. And they're not going to be fixed with money.
And could you please elaborate on the Hope Fellowship, something that you recently started doing? Could you please tell the audience at home what you're doing with the Hope Fellowship, please?
For sure. So the Hope United Fellowship, I was a member of the 2024 Bingham class. And that topic for that Bingham class was creating a safer city for all. I was one of 4 African American males who were in that cohort. And one of the things that I immediately noticed in our first meeting, we were talking about creating a safer city, but we were not talking about the folks in the city who seemed to be the least safe individuals, right? And the data overwhelmingly suggests that is Black males.
Yes, sir.
So for me, it was like, well, I can't be in here in good conscience and not really speak up, for that group of folks, because what my work has taught me over time is young Black males in our community, Black males in general, are assets, right? They are not deficits. They are not like folks that are detractors and all these things. But what might it look like if we decided to pour into these young brothers and help them see different opportunities, right? So the Hope United Fellowship, HOPE is an acronym. The H stands for health and healing. The O is for opportunity. The P is for prosperity. The E is for empowerment. So as myself and my team, we got together. We said, what might it look like if, and Brother Whitlock, I'm going to take a quick step back because it was funny. Like for me, the moral argument is all that you need. This is a life, right? Yeah. So my daddy, I mentioned him earlier, and I'll go back really quickly to tell you a quick story about him. After he passed in July of 2021, I'm up in his bedroom cleaning some things out. And I find a triple beam scale, right? So I looked at the scale and I looked at my 2 older brothers and I'm like, hey, what is this about? He's like, chill. Like before you were born and before daddy got the job, at Bendix, he was in the game. He was selling weed or whatnot. But once he got an opportunity,
Stop.
that was gone. That was done. That was done. That was gone. So that opportunity for him at the factory down the street from my crib completely changed the trajectory of our lives. That's probably why I'm sitting here right now. So nobody can tell me that changing one life doesn't have ripple effects for other folks. So when it gets back to the Hope United Fellowship, and like the work that we're doing there, the thing that I kept going back to is how many young brothers are we losing because they don't see that opportunity that my dad had, right? I had a young man tell me he was tired of people judging his decisions when they didn't know his choices. And he was tired of people saying, well, you should change without somebody saying, well, here's the support to help you change. So when we go to Hope United, myself and my team, we started thinking about what do we need to surround these brothers with. So again, the health piece of it, our young men are receiving mental health support through a partner. Shout out to Lauren Muir at Martin Muir and her entire team. The opportunity piece, we're working with employers. For me, again, moral argument, these are young men. It's a life that's worth it. But what tripped me out was there were so many folks that were just like, so why are we doing this? I'm like, well, black males, most impacted by violence, most impacted by homicide, all these things. And folks are like, okay, but why else are we doing it? So we had to find ways to talk to people about this from a holistic standpoint. So we went and talked to businesses. Well, I keep hearing you say that if you only had employees or you only had candidates to hire, but you can't find nobody to hire. Well, what if I can get you some brothers who come in, they want to be interested. Are you willing to give them not just a job, entry level, but to build a career? Oh, yes, you are. I'm signing you up for this program. We talked to LMPD, about it. They've identified over 150 young men aged 18 to 24 who are not currently on the right track.
Okay.
If you all help us identify young men, oh yeah, we got you. We talked to folks in the legal system, in the court system. Tired of seeing the same people running in time and time again. But then the big one was the folks who were just like, deaths are costing way too much money. A homicide costs about $1 million when it's all said and done. Why are we paying $1 million to bury these brothers when we could be paying thousands of dollars to help save them and help support them? And that is going to help everybody in the community. So the prosperity piece, these young brothers, they receive $1,000 a month from us. But they got to show up. It's not they got to show up to our program, and we meet with them twice out of the month. Thus far, we've met with these young men. I found out that 6 out of 8 of them are dads, right? So a huge part of our curriculum is what does it mean to be a father, right? Had Dr. Armand Perry, shout out to him. He came in and talked to him about financial discipline, emotional discipline, sexual discipline. If you can master those 3 things, you're going to be on the right track. A lot of these brothers want to be entrepreneurs. We got somebody coming in to talk to them about that. Many of them didn't have bank accounts, right? So we had to get that set up. But I'm like big bro in the program. So what I've told them and what I've seen, Brother Whitlock, is with high expectations, there has to be a high level of support. But where I've gotten with these young men is I know the kind of support that you're getting. So we're going to hold you to high expectations. 2 of them, I was in a meeting today, talking to a CEO at a company, and he sure enough said, man, if I just had some folks that'll work. I said, I got 2 guys for you right now. Can I call them? He's like, well, don't call them. I was like, well, can I have them put your name on their application and ask who referred them? He said, absolutely. Called them. Those 2 brothers have already applied. I have no doubt they'll be employed within the week. Right. So that's a little bit about the Hope United Fellowship.
Okay. When you was younger, what was it like being a young black man and seeing how often black men kill each other? I'm talking about like when you let's say where was you at in high school, college, and your evolution all the way up to then? Like what was it like for you being a young black man seeing young black men kill each other?
Yeah, man, it was difficult, and it still is to this day, because so many deaths that I've either heard about, know about, and even one that I witnessed was senseless. When I say senseless, like when Dr. Perry talked to our young men about emotional discipline, like when I'm talking to these brothers in the Hope United Fellowship, I said, man, I can't tell y'all the last time that I've been in a confrontation. As a young man, I was in a lot of them because I just didn't know what I didn't know, right? I didn't know that my pride was playing a huge role in me staying in situations where I told these brothers, man, I'll walk away from the situation in a minute. If it doesn't look right, doesn't sound right, doesn't feel right, and I know that it's going to take me to a situation I don't want to be in, I've learned to mature and I simply leave. So we talk to these brothers about walking away from situations, but also doing it the right way. I'm not turning my back to you if we're in a confrontation and walk away. I'm going to walk away face to face, But again, it's removing yourself from the situation. So, like witness a murder. Um, would have been in college. Myself, some of my friends, we knew the shooter, did not know the young man that he shot and killed, but just and it was again when I say senseless, it's over stuff that could have been a conversation. So to get to the root of your question, what does that seem like, man? For me, it's heartbreaking because every time we lose a brother, we lose an opportunity. He loses an opportunity. For many of the deaths that we've witnessed and things that we've seen, that's a child losing a father. That's definitely a mother or a father losing a son, or a grandmother or a grandfather losing a grandson. So for me, man, it really is just trying to get in front of things to give these brothers the opportunity to where they're less likely to find themselves in situations where pistol even needs to be pulled.
The reason I asked that because I remember Black Men United had a song called "You Will Know," right? And I'm a young man. I'm thinking we're turning a corner, right? Even the beginning statistics of Boys in the Hood tells you 1 out of 22 black men are killed and so on and so forth, right? And I thought we'd have more traction if this wouldn't be your first year doing the Hope Fellowship. You understand what I'm saying? I thought that Black America knew the instability that the violence is really causing. Would you say there's been a resurgence of, because it feels like the 90s, like in big cities like Chicago and LA? Do you feel like people are starting to realize how much violence affects the whole entire community and actual city?
Absolutely, and I think that's a great point. So as we were sitting in Bingham, man, one of the things that continue to come up, and we have built a nice level of trust, with our cohort. And we had some folks in there, man, who really did not understand or would actually ask, "What can I do? Like this violence isn't happening in my neighborhood, right? I don't know anyone who's been shot, been killed. I don't know any of the folks that are doing the shooting." So one of the things that I think myself and my team did really well was just elevating the fact that it's not yet, right? If we don't get a handle on what's happening in our city, to your point, it's not going to be a door. It's not going to be a neighborhood that isn't impacted by this. So how do we look at this as a communal issue? And then also, I raised the question to many of our Bingham folks. What does it say about our society that you have a group of folks that seem to be more comfortable um, in certain situations versus other situations where they can be more productive. The old adage, something that goes along, like they'll come burn down the village and stand close to it to feel it's warm. And I think a lot of it for me goes back to my roots as an educator, right? And I do think that at some point in this country, the thing that I'll say is if you're an educator, I believe that you're a saint. Why do I believe that in this country? For at least the first, let's say, 10 to 12 years of your life, if not longer, you're going to be in a school. You're going to be in somebody's classroom. And the power that teachers have and the educators have, they have the ability to make or break a young person's trajectory as to whether or not they want to be educated and stay in school. So I think school is a huge benefit to society, and I think that's a great area for great schools like the Du Bois Academy, like Foster Traditional Academy schools that, and I'm naming schools that I work in. But if you can wrap your arms around some of these young folks and get them to see, like, the purpose of education, as I mentioned earlier, it's not the test score. It is for young people to be able to unlock their potential, their passions, their purpose, and then be able to pursue that through education. If we don't get a handle on ensuring that kids are having good, like, experiences in schools, that's where I think things start to go left from things that we can control. You'll have folks talking about parenting and all these things. Again, I get all that. Parents are first teachers. But at the end of the day, I think that we miss opportunities in schools. I think we miss opportunities in neighborhoods. I think that we miss opportunities, with young people. Again, just giving them something, opening that door and that pathway for something that they care about that they can pursue.
Okay, well, you just answered my question because I was gonna ask you about what's your message in this. It sounds like you just said it. But but what I will ask is everything you just now said, especially talking about the parents and everything that's going on right now. What would and I'm just not even limited this to black mothers. What would you say to a single mother who has a son, has several children? What would you say to them right now with everything that's going on, not just in the city but also in this world? Like, what would you say to that single mother?
Yeah, I would say keep grinding, keep doing your best, and 24 years of working with young people and working with families, and even in my own life, I've yet to meet a parent that does not care for their child.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've met plenty of parents that may not have had the resources, they may not have had the experience, they may not have had the know-how to best support their child in that moment. But
Mm-hmm.
I personally have not encountered any parent that I wouldn't say love their child in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So if it's a single parent or any parent, like you said, that may be struggling, looking for resources, I would tell them to do everything that they can to find their village. Make sure that your pride doesn't get in the way. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be upset.
Mm-hmm.
Do your best, but then also try to do your best to surround yourself and especially your children with folks that can support them. Like I think that's a beautiful thing about Metro United Way,
Mm-hmm.
organizations like the Urban League. There are enough folks around that if you don't know what to do or how to do it, don't continue to try to figure things out on your own because that may lead to burnout. That may lead to you throwing your hands up. So do your best to surround yourself and your children or your child with a village of folks that can offer that support.
I just know when I was a young person, I used to get my hair cut across the street from the Urban League, and nobody ever told me that was the Urban League across the street. And that's one thing I really hope that people are more aware of these organizations, Metro United Way, Louisville Urban League, so on and so forth. That the awareness is a whole lot larger than what it used to be. I remember when I first got involved in the community. I called the community a secret society from the hood, right? Because that's what it felt like. It felt like a large group of people was living in one world in the same community, and then another group of people was having a totally different experience in the same place, right? And so my question would be, like, with the Hope United and the outreach that Metro United Way is doing now, like, do you think that makes y'all organization more visible? And also, you got young people that want to be chief equity officers when they get older now. Do you think that's an encouragement that's happening as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think for the kind of the community engagement piece, I think the more that we do, the more and it's hard to be in these roles, right? So for me, Robert O. Gunn Jr., I'm the son of Robert O. Gunn Sr., right? And one thing the soul never wanted to be was the center of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like that man was a beast and he moved in silence. He was somebody needed something, he's there to support them, but he's not standing in front of the crowd saying, "Hey, I just helped Richard out
Yeah.
with X, Y, and Z." That's just not the way we do things. So what we've had to learn at Metro United Way is we do have to be more vocal with our advocacy, and when we do things that are good in the community, not to shy away from it, right? And not to say that, hey, we're here and we're doing all of this great work, but we also should not say anything at all about the work we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one way to get the word out. So I do think that that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of young people, like again, man, so that first class of you boys graduated from last year, those sixth graders that I started with, and several of them have reached out just like, yeah, Mr. Gunn, I'm going into teaching, right? I
Yeah.
want to be a teacher. I want to be able to give back to young men the way that y'all poured into me. I want to be a principal, right? I do want to be a chief equity and impact officer, man, because I tell people all the time, man, my paycheck and my purpose and my passion, they are all in alignment. I don't feel like I've worked a day in my life, and I've worked incredibly hard. But even when I was teaching, to coaching, to assistant principal, to principal, like, man, I love the work that I do, and I love it for everybody that I impact. But it is something really special and near and dear to my heart, man, when I see a young black male who, because of me or because of his interaction with me or anybody else in the building at Du Bois, whether it was Jahi Peak, whether it was Troy Duncan, whether it was Ellis Tarver, whether it was Corey Clark, LaQuinta Farmer, James Alexander, right? Any of these men, like Du Bois was such a wonderful place for me because for one of the first times in my life, I didn't feel like I had to be the only one. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like these brothers had a village of men that surrounded them, different personalities, different quirks, different things. But man, I would challenge the guys at Du Bois every day. You tell me one reason why you can't be successful in this building today. I'll wait.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't know what you're going home to, don't know what you came in with, but that's why we met him at the front door. Because if you was crying, what's up? We're gonna wipe them tears. You hungry? We're gonna get you something to eat. Your uniform was dirty. Hey, let's go change it. But before you walk into these doors, like, we're here for you, and there's no reason why you can't be successful today. And I just, man, I know in my heart of hearts, if that's what anybody in our community was getting, specifically black males were getting from school to community to home, man, it ain't nothing that we wouldn't be able to do.
Hmm. I often say that the cure for the black community is being loved by black men, and a lot of our women haven't been properly loved. A lot of our children haven't been properly loved by black men. Um, I got a question for you. The importance of black men pertaining to black males. Could you expound on that? Like my mother knew how important having positive black men in my life was. Could you share with our sisters how important it is that these young brothers have positive black men around them?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I say anything to the sisters about the importance of that, I first want to talk to the brothers about
Yep.
the importance of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there shouldn't be an absence of us around. And one of the things, like, as I'm talking to these young men in the Hope United Fellowship, man, like many of them are dads. Again, 6 out of 8 of them are dads, ranging from age 19 to 23. Like, I asked him a question the other day when we were talking about the disciplines, and I asked him, I said, "Is there a man on the face of this earth that can do a better job of raising your kids than you?" Hell no. Like they bucked up a little bit. Like no. I'm like, that's exactly how you should feel. But what happens if you're not around from decisions that you're making? What happens if you're not around because you made a decision to make a child, but now you're not manning up to be in that child's life? Like, what does that look like? So first part of that question is for the brothers in the community to understand that in order for our young men to be successful, they need to see us. They need to feel us. They need to learn how we walk the walk. They need to learn that they're not going through anything that we didn't experience, but instead of us not being around to help them through it and to share our experiences, we're going to be right there with them.
Mm-hmm.
Right to the ladies, I think that it goes hand in hand. I definitely think that you want to surround. There's enough of us out here,
Mm-hmm.
right, who want to pour into young men, even if that's not the father of the child, right, what have you. If that's not a cousin, an uncle, or granddad, there's enough men out here that can help your son become the man that you want him to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in absence of you having anyone to do that, I also will tell the ladies don't make no excuses. Like do the best that you can do. Don't want you to have to replace men.
Mm-hmm.
But if men aren't around, you got to do what you have to do. But I guess the bigger call to them would just say, going back to our answer earlier, find your village. There are enough of us out there that we can support. Young men, I can't tell you how many sons,
Mm-hmm.
nephews that I have that aren't born to me. There's only
Yep.
one. Robert Earl Gunn III is the only biological son that I have.
Yep.
But I have hundreds of sons that I love as much as I love him. I love the way that I love him, and I want them to be better than me the same way that I want him to be better than me.
I lost my father as an infant, and I used to tell people that I borrowed people's fathers all the time. I always told them how important it was to value their father, the father's presence, so on and so forth. So I'm glad you shared that because, like, when it comes to me doing community work, I found my tribe in the community. And with you telling people go out here and find your tribe, this is no knock to our families. This is no knock to the neighborhoods we grew up in. Well, I think we evolve, and part of our evolution is knowing people that we haven't known for 20 years. Part of our evolution is what I do personally is the first 3 months of every year, I get to know people that I didn't know the previous year. So the first 90 days is something I do. Could you tell us something that you do that you will assume most people don't do? Not that it makes a big difference. Hey, this is something that I do that I don't think most people do.
Yeah, I think it's something I do that's real simple, man. So every day, sometimes, especially when you build a relationship with kids, like so I'm going to talk about my dining room table conversation that
Mm-hmm.
happens every single night in my household, and it's something that's easy. But just to check in with the kids, man, every day I'm like, what? Hey, I need your L's. What's your 4 L's? And they're simple. What did you have for lunch? What did you like? What did you learn? How are you a leader? That's a conversation that we have every day. So I share that with folks of something that I do. Again, not outside of the ordinary, but in the questions they progress, they get real easy. What you have for lunch? That's easy. All right. What did you like about school? I want to know something that you like. But then when it comes to that learning and then even that leadership, I think those are just little nuggets that we have. Start to have a conversation, but while Originally, those 4 L's that we started talking about, that's a 2 to 3 minute conversation. Now it takes up 15 to 20 minutes of time, and it like gives an entry point into a conversation. So I'm talking about how I talk to my children about this, but that's something that you can do with anybody every single day.
Okay, I have another question. You keep mentioning the word leadership. Leadership. What is leadership? What's the importance of leadership to you?
Man, I think everything starts and ends with leadership.
I think so too.
But for folks, you got to learn how to be a leader. And I actually have an acronym for leadership that we would say every day at the Boys Academy. So the L, listen and follow all directions. E, engage in your learning. A, accept correction. The D, do your best. The E, eliminate excuses. And the R, respect yourself and others. Right. So those leader rules, again, stuff that I talk to my son about, talk to my daughter about all the time. But in order to be a leader, I think that you have to truly know who you are. Like for me, I did a dog on TED talk back in April of last year, and the topic was courageous leadership. And all I talked about for me, leadership is love. They go hand in hand.
Okay.
I don't think that you can lead if you don't love.
Okay.
I think that's just something that I firmly believe.
Okay. Well, mentioning the word love, what do you love about Louisville, man?
Man, I love a lot about Louisville. I love the fact that Louisville, for me, growing up in South Bend, Indiana, so Louisville has a much bigger feel than South Bend.
Yeah.
The things I love about Louisville, man, I love the fact that if I want a big city kind of turn up vibe, I can find that. I love the fact that I can go to my backyard if I don't want to be bothered, if I don't want to do things. I love the price of living. I love the traffic or lack thereof, although at times it gets a little bit hairy. I love the food scene. I'm a connoisseur of bourbon.
Okay.
Right? So love the city for that. But most importantly, man, I love Louisville because this city has afforded me opportunities that I never thought that I would see in my life.
Okay.
Again, from being a teacher when I moved here to now being the chief equity and impact officer, and before that, the love of my educational life. Man, being the founding principal of the Boys Academy, like this city has poured into me and just provided me opportunities to be seen, to be heard, and also to help inspire and to help bring along another generation.
Okay. Well, you mentioned going from education to be a chief equity officer, right? How do you think? How did that happen? Because you probably imagine you'd be in the classroom. You probably imagine that you'd be, on the board, education, something like that, right? How did you end up in this chief of equity space? How you end up in this space?
Man, I'm glad you asked, and you you hit the nail right on the button. So I told you I left St. Louis kicking the screen, so I moved here. 3 years I taught at Conway Middle School. Right, my last year in the classroom was probably one of the most like inspirational years that I had. I got the group at Conway that nobody wanted.
Okay.
This was a group. The principal called me and is like, "Hey man, somebody got to take this group of kids. Like they're bad. Their teachers quit last year. Like they didn't get any sound instruction. Will you take them on?" I'm like, "Sure." Then Debbie Mercer was my principal. She's like, "Well, let me tell you, it's not going to be a 4-person team. It's only going to be 3. That means that your class periods are going to be like 93, 94 minutes. Everybody else is going to be 55, 60 minutes, like all these things." I'm like, "Hey, I got you. I'm the man for the job, right?" So take this group again, pitted them against everybody. I went first day, man, don't nobody like y'all. They say that y'all bad, like all of these things, right? So we formed our community and it ended up being really powerful. But during that year, I had an assistant principal. Her name was Donna Burkhead. She came to my classroom, and I was that teacher at Conway that if there were young people, especially young black boys, acting up around the building, "Oh, y'all going to guns class." But the thing that tripped folks out, they didn't come to my class to get yelled at. They didn't come to my class because they were going to get in trouble with me. It was a look when they came in. Sit down. Hey, let's get it. Let's have some fun. Let's do our thing. So Donna Burkhead came into my room. She's like, "Robert, like you got to get into administration." I'm like, "Ms. Burkhead, with all due respect, you don't even look like you like your job." Like she started cracking up. She's like, "Yeah, but I'm about to retire." But I was like, "Why would I give up the peace that I have? I see 120 to 150 students a day. I close my door. We do our thing. They're safe in here. They're supported. They're successful." She's like, "That's the thing. You're doing it right now with 120 to 150 students. Imagine if you can do that for an entire school community. Scale your impact." I was like, "Ooh, challenge accepted." So then Robert Gunn, the administrator, was born. Right?
Okay.
So I become assistant principal, all these things. At the Du Bois Academy, and there's so many awesome stories behind that school being started. One of which is, hey, the only way you're gonna be successful is if you choose the good ones. I said, okay, who are the good ones? Well, you know, straight A's, no behavior issues, perfect
Was
attendance.
don't need the school.
Absolutely. I said, well, me and my daddy wouldn't have gotten into Du Bois, so that's not what we're going to do. We're
Yeah.
going to do the exact opposite. So
Mhm.
142 of those first 157 came from quote unquote failing situations. I wanted to show that with the right support and the right school community, we would be successful. So again, get there after 5 years of doing that work, Brother Whitlock. Du Bois, and a lot of people don't know this, Du Bois became the third most popular magnet in all of JCPS behind just the Central High School and Manual.
Okay.
Those are the only two schools that were more popular than us based on, you know, who was applying to the school.
Mhm.
That last year, for 150 spots, we got over 500 applications. Had parents reaching out, hey, well, what did my son do wrong? I'm like, it was a lottery. They didn't do anything wrong. We wasn't cherry picking. So it came down to, as a teacher, I was able to support the folks in my classroom.
Mhm.
Principal at Du Bois, I had no doubt that the guys in our school building were going to be good. What about their brothers? What about their sisters? What about their
Cousins.
mothers, cousins, aunts,
Yeah.
uncles, all these things? So then opportunity at Metro United Way, when it showed itself, didn't go seeking it, didn't go looking for it, but then it became the opportunity to again continue to scale impact. So I went from a classroom to a school community. Now the work that we're leading at Metro United Way, Brother Whitlock, I'm able to literally oversee programming that reaches 1.2 million people across 7 counties.
Mhm.
When I left Du Bois, I made it very, very clear. Like I asked, a lot of people don't know this. Like I asked the young men permission
Mhm.
because I didn't want them to think that I was another person in their life that was abandoning them. I had that conversation. Y'all are going to be good. Let's talk about the creed we say every day. I was born to achieve greatness. I will not be defined by my mistakes, but my willingness to accept correction and learn and grow. My greatness will be a result of my work ethic, mentorship, and support. I will achieve all my goals. And, you know, there's a part in there about being responsible and accountable for your community. So when I talked to the young men, I was like, hey, so this is my opportunity, like, to do that.
Mhm.
Do I have y'all permission? You got it.
Okay. Okay. No, to the reason I asked is because what you just told me, it sounded like you outgrew the pot. You outgrew the pot of the classroom. You outgrew a pot of a school, and now you got a whole pot of a 1.2 million metropolitan area, right? You actually, when you was talking, you reminded me of Jeffrey Canada up there in Harlem, what he did with the Harlem School Zone. And I remember hearing about him years ago, and I was like, man, we need Jeffrey Canada down here. And that's just you talking. That's just what you reminded me of. You know, we're a little short on time. We got like 5 minutes left. And last question I usually ask is, what's the state of Black Louisville, man? I got two questions for you then. What you love about being black, and what is the state of Black Louisville?
Yes, sir. So I'll say what I love about being black, man, is I've learned, brother, to just walk in my walk in my purpose, man, and be truly authentic to who I am. I identify as a black man whose purpose and mission in this world is to help make it better and
Mm-hmm.
to help anyone that I'm capable to impact, help make their lives better. Like, and I just love doing that work. I love that work. I love who I am. I walk around unapologetically black.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything that really holds me back. There's no barriers, right, for me. When it comes to like the state of Black Louisville, I would just say it's my hope that we can continue to reflect on where we are as a city, where we are as a community, where we are as a nation, and really just think about what is it that we want? And once we identify what it is that we want, then what is the pathway forward? Like I love the work that we're doing at United Way. I love the work that's happening at Urban League. Like their path forward, the work that we're doing in our equitable community pillar. Like for me, it is just if we can see the brilliance that exists in us, if we can find a way to concentrate on things that I would say are meaningful, things that I would say are important, things that I would say are impactful, things that I would say that will positively impact our community for generations to come, if we can find a way to really pour into those things and lean into those things, I think that we'll be an unstoppable force. I also think that as a whole community, if we collectively can see that black folks in our community are assets that are being woefully underutilized, underappreciated, underdeveloped, under-resourced. If we can find a way to turn that thing around, and I tell folks all the time, there's nothing special about Robert Earl Gunn Jr., but I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of the work that I'm able to do. And I'm here going back to soul, going back to my daddy, because of one opportunity that he got. Brother Whitlock, if I go out to my truck right now, man, I can pull out the coveralls that are in my back seat. They're the ones that he wore in that factory for 44 years, and he told me to keep them in my vehicle at all times because I will never, ever work in a factory the way that he did. And if I ever got a flat tire, put those on so I don't get my suit dirty. Right? And it's just, man, I hope, I wish, I pray that everybody gets that experience just to be seen, just to be valued, and just to be unlocked. To say, you want this in life, here's the support, here's the pathway. I'm a person that will stand right next to you. I'm not going to give up on you. I'm not going to let you give up on yourself. I'm not going to let you make excuses. I'm not going to quit on you. Let's make it happen.
Okay. Well, that's it, y'all. First interview of the State of Black Louisville interviews with Robert E. Gunn Jr. I just want to say thank y'all for tuning in. Maxwell's supposed to be putting this on YouTube so it can get cataloged and y'all can keep up with it and watch it again. Just thank you all.
Whether it's being a mother of 6 or a grandmother of 4 with one on the way, whether it's running the Bail Project, whether it's standing up for what's right, whether it's being your council person for District 3.
This has been something that we as a body should recognize.
Whether it's working to fix the issues in this city. Whether it's being the executive director of Vocal Kentucky. We now understand what's needed in this city, and that is new leadership. Louisville, it's time. I've seen enough of Louisville from many vantage points to know what we need as a city. We all agree that we need new leadership. I'm hoping, 1, you go and vote on May 19th, and 2, I'm hoping that you vote Shamika Parrish Wright to be your next mayor.
This is brought to you by the people to elect Shamika Parrish Wright.
If you do nothing else.
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 Stay live.